Make sure the snacks are well stocked. You have your clothes in the dryer and the oven is off because we have a jam-packed show for you today. I am your anchor, Joey Redmond. I will be doing my best to make sure we get through all this together. You are watching this week's edition of Primetime Sportz, and with all of that, let's get started with this news. First off, the men's soccer team finally played a game at home earlier this week after the previous 3 being out on the road. Guan Bay has a brief game recap of what happened when the Panthers returned to Panthersville.
Following the busy schedule of 3 away games in only 2 weeks, JSU men's soccer team is now hosting the University of the Pacific here at JSU Soccer Complex. In those away games, the Panthers won twice but lost to South Carolina 3-1. As the team heads into its 6th week of this season, they have so far scored a total of 20 goals and conceded 14 goals. The Panthers had a tough time on Sunday as the University of the Pacific took the 2-1 victory. 22 minutes into the game, the Pacifica scored the opening goal in the first half and their second goal came in the second half. For the Panthers, Liam Fitzsimmons put a deep cross into the box for Max Hemmings, who pushed it above the keeper and into the net, making his 5th score of the season. The next home game will be on the 8th of October against the big rival, Georgia Southern. For Primetime Sportz, I'm Guan Bay.
It can also be noted that the men played another game earlier this week on the road in South Carolina against USC Upstate and won that one 4-2. On a personal note, I am super excited about this most recent game being a win for us as we prep to play Southern tomorrow, who is of course our biggest rival. So everyone, please come out to Panthersville. Let's fill up these bleachers and use this recent winning spirit to beat the Eagles. Go Panthers! I mean, I'm kind of hyped about it, obviously. If you're not hyped about Georgia State versus Georgia Southern, I mean, what are you hyped about? Unless you get hyped about baseball or softball, in which case we will transition from the soccer pitch to the pitching mound because our 2 teams who play in the diamond are loosening up their shoulders and breaking in their gloves, waiting for the baseball and softball regular season to begin. To get you caught up on all the preseason progress, here are some updates from both teams.
The Georgia State softball team started their fall season this past Sunday. The team refers to the short preseason as fall ball. It's a time where the younger players get a chance to gain more experience and for veterans to get a warm-up before the regular season. Coach Roger Kincaid gave Primetime Sportz a breakdown of his expectations this fall.
Well, fall ball for us is integrating the new players into our system. We have 8 new players this year, so we have a good crowd coming in that have never played for us, so they don't know how we coach, they don't know how we play. So fall is kind of trying to figure out how they're going to come in, what role they're going to fill for us, how they can actually integrate into the team and fit into our system.
During the fall season, freshmen get their first taste of being a college athlete. For the seniors, however, it's a chance to establish a leadership role on the team. Repetition is something senior Mandy Blackwell is stressing to the newcomers in order to have a successful season.
We're just showing them what to do on and off the field, and we're showing them that no matter how many times it takes to get it right, just keep practicing and keep pushing until they get it right, because they'll be successful this year.
The Georgia State Panthers finished last season with a record of 38-22. With the loss of some important seniors, including shortstop Taylor Anderson and starting pitcher Katie Worley, it will be interesting to see how the Panthers perform this year. With some more information on the baseball team, here's Malik Brown.
The men's baseball team began their fall practice last week as they prepare for the upcoming season. After finishing 24-31, the team is looking to improve and get off to a fast start. The Panthers are welcoming back 20 players led by all-conference third baseman Jared Hood, academic All-American Justin Jones, and outfielder Darius Sewell. I caught up with Darius and Jared to talk about what the team can improve on from last season.
Playing with more heart. I feel like last year we kind of laid down and rolled over towards the end of the season. I feel like if we play with more heart this season, we'll have a better chance to win the conference.
Main thing would be focus. I feel like down the stretch we kind of lost our edge since we were playing from the outside to get in, and to just keep the competitive energy and stay up instead of getting down.
With players returning, there are also many newcomers to the team. It could take time to build chemistry, but Coach Frady thinks that they are doing just fine working together.
Well, so far everybody's doing a great job of being a good teammate, being a good communicator. Everybody is meshing well to this point. You know, when you play hard and you go hard and you if you will, sweat together and really put the time, effort, and energy into it, then it really is very gratifying, and you kind of lose the self part of that.
Expectations are high this season, but the players and coaches feel like with time and hard work, they can exceed their win total from last year.
My goals and objectives will be to prepare the team for the spring season, the 56-game season, emphasis placed on playing a very good non-conference schedule, and then competing and playing for a championship in the Sun Belt Conference, which is no easy task. And I think that's a great challenge for us, but that's what we're working toward, and that's our expectations.
Practice is set to continue through November 8th. For more on Georgia State sports, I'm Malik Brown.
And while those teams are looking to do great things this season, one specific player is already doing great things on his team, despite his team being 0-4. I am, of course, referring to wide receiver Robert Davis, who last Saturday against App State became Georgia State's all-time receptions leader. With more details on this milestone, here's Justin DeWitt.
Last Saturday, the 0-4 Georgia State football team fell short once again to the Sun Belt favorites, Appalachian State, 17-3. The Georgia State's offense really struggled getting anything going and lost a stud wide receiver, Penny Hart, to a leg injury that will likely sideline him for the rest of the season. But senior wide receiver Robert Davis became the Panthers' all-time leading receiver with 5 receptions for 56 yards. He surpasses a mentor of his, Albert Wilson, a former Panther who currently plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. I caught up with Robert earlier today, and he told me how he felt about the new accomplishment.
It feels great. It's a big accomplishment, especially being able to break a guy like Albert Wilson's record, somebody that I really look up to. So, it's a great accomplishment. It's something that I worked really hard for, and I'm proud of it.
Robert is happy about the new milestone he's reached, but I asked him, what is it going to take to help this team get a win? And he told me.
Just better preparation on my behalf. I didn't really have one of my better games last game, so I've been making sure I've been preparing more this week, and hopefully that'll correlate on Saturday.
The Panthers return to the Georgia Dome for some home cooking after a 3-game road trip, looking to catch their first victory of the season. For Primetime Sports, I'm Justin DeWitt.
And a huge congratulations from all of us at Primetime to you, Mr. Robert Davis, for breaking this record and offering a little bit of a bright spot for fans to cling to while we wait for this first win of the season. And here with me to talk about what the team is going to have to do to make this the week that they get that first win is our very own David Shealy. So David, thank you so much for being here with me. We always appreciate the thorough knowledge of this football team you bring to the show. So the only thing we can really ask to start out with, it's kind of the obvious question, but it is the question. Why are they 0-4, and what do we do this week to make it 1-4?
Okay, so here's the thing with Georgia State. The reason they're 0-4 is because they're just plain not good across the board. Okay, their defense allows way too many rushing yards. Georgia State can't run the ball. Not a single running back, not one running back on this deep running back roster has 100 net yards rushing. Not a single one.
That's on the season.
That's on the season.
The whole season.
The whole season. Georgia State's played 4 games, and not one running back has reached 100 yards rushing. And they allowed 325 in the first game to Ball State. And I expected 0-4. And the reason I expected 0-4 was because after Georgia State lost to Ball State, because I originally had Georgia State beating Ball State. But when Georgia State was at home and lost by 10 points to Ball State in the Georgia Dome, okay, home opener coming off the bowl game, everyone's excited, and then you lose to Ball State, who at the time was ranked as the 9th worst football program in America. My expectations absolutely went through the basement, and you better believe that I thought Georgia State was going to lose at Air Force, at Wisconsin, and at Appalachian State. So I totally expected this.
And they had it a little bit rough. Of course, not the Ball State game. We didn't expect to lose that game, but the next 3 games, they were a bit of a gauntlet, I think is the best way to describe it. So now we're back at home against Texas State.
Right.
And it's a conference opponent once again, so the pressure is on.
Right.
The home crowd is hopefully going to be there. I hope people aren't too discouraged to not show up after an 0-4 start to the season. So what does Texas State have that we need to make sure we pay attention to, and what can we utilize as our assets to beat them?
Okay, well, Texas State has a nice, a pretty decent squad, I would say, okay? The Bobcats are 2-2, they got a 500 record. Their only losses came to teams that are ranked. That's Arkansas and Houston, okay? So they've played against teams that are ranked, and they did fairly well, but they still lost. And then when teams that aren't ranked and the other opponents, like they played Incarnate Word, who's the Catholic school down in San Antonio, they put a whooping on those boys.
And they're not very good anyhow.
And they're
so
not very
it's hard
good.
to really judge Texas State's ability against what you might call like a high school team.
Exactly.
Right.
So their quarterback, Tyler Jones, is a guy that is the highlight here, 60% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So like I said, decent team. That's why they're 500. But decent is better than winless, which is what Georgia State is.
Right. So, I mean, is there any good news here that we can try and take away from these matchups?
Okay, good news. Georgia State is 100% in the red zone. Did you know that?
Georgia State, they're 100%?
Georgia State is 100% in the red zone. But how many times have they been in the red zone?
What's the catch? Yeah, what's the catch?
Okay, so here's the thing. Georgia State 100% in the red zone, right? They've only been in the red zone 6 times. Out of 4 games, they've been in the red zone 6 times.
But, I mean, props for being 100%. I mean,
Yeah,
4 weeks
yeah,
into the season, that's almost impossible.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of teams aren't that at all.
But
So
at the
there's
same
that.
time, the chances that you get in the red zone are few and far between. Now, when Georgia State gets in the red zone, okay, they're probably going to score. But outside of that, probably not. They're doing a lot of punting. Counter Manning doesn't play like anybody with that last name. I've been saying that for a while. Okay, you've got Eli, and you've got Peyton, then you've got Connor, and Connor doesn't play like anybody. Okay, Rashad even went as far to say Connor should change his last name. Okay, that's something that actually came out of his mouth. But here's the thing. When Georgia State can't score a touchdown, what do? They try to kick a field goal, right?
Right.
Georgia State can't really kick field goals. They are, what is this, 2 for 5? That's 40%.
40% on the season?
40%. So everything is really going wrong for Georgia State right now. And I honestly don't see them winning this game. I honestly think 0-5 awaits the Georgia State Panthers because Texas State, like I said, is decent. I think Georgia State will be fairly close going into the fourth quarter, maybe a 10-6, and Texas State being ahead, and then Texas State scores 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And not to mention, Penny Hart's even out for the year,
Yeah,
so the
Penny
offense
Hart,
hurts even more.
That's a big deal. I mean, even with Robert Davis and the record that he set, I mean, receptions don't score touchdowns.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you got to get all the way down the field to do that, and it's disheartening to think of them going 0-5. I hope they don't. I mean, for the record, I hope they win today. I think we all hope they win today. It's just the offense struggles. There's not a lot of momentum that we can build off of. I mean, we thought maybe we had it coming out of the Wisconsin game, but it didn't translate to App State in the slightest. So we'll see what happens. But David's giving this one to Texas State. We hope the best for our Panthers tomorrow. David, it's a pleasure to always have you on the show, buddy. We look forward to what more knowledge you can bring to us in the future.
All right, man, no problem. You're doing a nice job out here, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on, though, one of those players who will be featured in tomorrow's game is safety Bobby Baker, who is doing even more work off the field and now finds himself nominated for a prestigious academic award. Here's Nathan Nair with the full story.
Senior safety Bobby Baker has been making noise on the field with his play, winning Sun Belt Player of the Week for his play against Wisconsin. Not only that, he's making noise from hitting the books. Bobby's been named as a semifinalist for the 2016 William V. Campbell Award, which recognizes the best football scholar athlete in the nation.
In any sport, leading by example is a critical component for team success. Safety Bobby Baker is doing just that by receiving the nomination.
Anything is possible for anybody. Anybody can make, big plays. Anybody can do what they're supposed to do in an academic classroom. So, whatever it comes down to, it's more of, possibility and shows opportunity.
The National Football Foundation will announce 12 to 14 finalists on November 1st. Athletes that are selected will receive a generous $18,000 postgraduate scholarship as a member of the 2016 NFF National Scholar Athlete class. With that much money being a possibility, one would think what Baker plans to do with it.
It'll be saved, most definitely. That was when I seen that, I told my mom. Mom was like, oh, So part, of course, I'm gonna take care of her, and then the other half is just save. I don't really need anything major right now, so I just want to save up, stack up.
Leadership is a quality few possess. Those who have it tend to go the extra mile and have the ability to rally others for one cause, and Bobby Baker does just that.
It's definitely tough. It sounds a lot easier than it is because being a leader is not just the person who stands up and says something. That's the easy part. The hard part is doing things the right way all the time. Coming in early, getting guys to stretch extra, do extra, and then going into the classroom and doing the same thing. So it's really tough, but I definitely found the balance over a little bit of time and just trying to be consistent.
One finalist will be named at the 59th Annual National Football Foundation Dinner on December 6th in New York City. The scholarship amount will be increased to $25,000. We'll just have to wait and see, but until then, reporting from the Georgia State Practice Facility, I'm Nathan Nair for Primetime Sports.
We are always proud of our athletes for not letting sports take priority over the classroom. And we are especially proud when that academic focus gets properly recognized and awarded. There are plenty of intelligent people in sports, some who play and others who find a way to use their academic intelligence to impact the game from the outside. Someone who very recently had his intellectual contribution to sports get globally recognized, thanks in large part to Hollywood, is Dr. Bennett Omalu. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, maybe the 2015 movie Concussion, starring Will Smith, does. Smith portrayed Dr. Omalu and told the story of how his research led to what we know now about the true dangers of concussions and head injuries in sports. Here at Georgia State, we were privileged to have Dr. Omalu visit, and even more privileged to have Primetime Sportz interview him about his research. Caleb Johnson released his feature story on Dr. Omalu's visit earlier today to our YouTube page, and I highly recommend everyone go and watch it when we wrap things up here, which actually is right now. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Primetime Sportz. Check back here next Friday for continuous updates on Georgia State athletics. Use our Twitter to check up on the football game tomorrow in case you can't watch it or listen on the radio or attend even. Just open up your phone, go into the Twitter app, find Primetime Sportz, and you'll get the game updates as they happen. But from all of us here at Primetime Sportz, we're wishing you a great week.